I loved what I did, but I hated the environments I did it in.
Corporate wasn't for you. We went viral on TikTok before for like stupid things.
And that's where the story gets real interesting.
I mean, clearly I was right.
I have chills.
Oh, hello, darling. Are you hitting
Hi everyone, welcome back to Hitting Pan by IPSY. I'm Bethany Blair, I'm your host. Remember, we are talking about all things beauty, no topic is off limits. And today's guests, yes, guests with an S, are super fun. You've seen them on your For You page probably a million times like I have. I love their content. The duo here today are the Lipstick Lesbians, AKA Alexis and Christina. Welcome to Hitting Pan, y'all.
Thank you.
How are you?
We're good. We're excited to be here.
We were just talking about before this that your career has been 18 months.
Yes.
And how crazy that is. It feels like you're just like a staple ingrained into the beauty industry at this point. Like everyone knows when they see a Lipstick Lesbians video, they know what it is. It's so you have coined this style. So it's really cool to have you here. We're going to chat. I know we're going to chat about so many amazing beauty things today, but I always like to start at the beginning of the journey, kind of get a little bit of background information. So first, I want to know a little bit about you two, how you met, how long you've been together.
The Lipstick Lesbian story is a love story.
I love it. The best kind of story.
But actually has lipstick in it too. Ironically.
This is the story that we don't always have time to tell in the short form content. Christina and I actually met on Tinder. And Christina's actually the first woman I ever dated. So this is going all the way back 10 years ago to Tinder 2014 era.
Which is very different than Tinder 2024. Yeah, from what we've heard.
So our meeting was actually at a bar in Tribeca. And it was like 5 days after we like swiped right. And all serendipitous. We swiped right at 11/11. It was, it was on a day that was both of our exes' birthdays. It's a day that still lives in a bit of, fame, if you will. April 9th.
And we're also both from the same island in Greece, an island called Crete. Yeah, no, it's really crazy.
It's wild.
Keep going.
Lots of spiritual synergies.
Yeah.
So we go on this date. I'm a nervous wreck. Let's talk about putting makeup on for the first time to go on a date with a woman as a makeup artist who worked for NARS, one of the most vibrant color brands on the market. And really conflicted about what does a woman even find attractive, right? You're not going on a date with your black eyeliner and your low cut top, the social cues you've learned your whole life. Really confusing, but I don't think I've ever been more nervous in my life. And then as soon as we sat down, this overwhelming sense of just calm, as if I knew that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And my now wife was challenging me even within the first hour of our meeting, because I was pitching her a beauty brand and how I wanted to start my own beauty brand.
Yeah, and for context, my background was in education. So I was like listening to Alexis pitching me this beauty brand.
Yeah, I wanted to launch King Cosmetics. I wanted to do
it's genius though.
It's pretty genius. I was heavily inspired by Sex and the City, clearly, 10 years ago. And Christina just kind of looked at me and she's like, you could do better. You could go deeper. Yeah. And I was just like, excuse you?
Yeah, with my education academic hat, I was just like, I don't know. I feel like you can do like deeper, something more meaningful to the community, right?
And I was like, okay. We were there until 4:00 in the morning. We closed the bar down.
It felt like 30 minutes, but it was literally like an 8-hour shift.
Yeah, literally. And like I had to take a cab home, like a $200 cab ride home.
To Jersey, yeah.
And I just remember being in the cab and just feeling like this, because I went through what you consider like a really, a very like aggressive coming out. I was later in life. It was very abrupt. It was really challenging for me. It was my last semester of college. And really it was just, I felt, again, there was this moment of just like, I arrived at the place I'd been seeking, this idea of, it was really an obsession for me of like, if I go on this date with a woman, I'll finally understand more about my identity. And it was kind of one of those situations where it exceeded my expectations. So it was really comforting.
You got to pitch a brand, get feedback on it, and also basically fell in love on one date. I mean, that sounds like a pretty epic first date.
But also really fun fact, you didn't wear lipstick on the first date with me.
Really important.
And it wasn't until 3 weeks later, she sent me a photo with this like bright orange lipstick on.
It was red square. It was a NARS velvet matte. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, that's hot. And she was like, wait a second, you like that? Because she didn't know who to be, right?
I had no idea.
And now your name is the Lipstick Lesbians.
Well,
full circle.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2018, because Alexis had this dream of starting a beauty brand. I think obviously ever since I met her.
It evolved since
It
King.
evolved.
Okay.
We decided to go all out and launch a brand together, right?
yeah.
My education background, being this like nonprofit-y aspect, buy one, give one,
Right.
and your beauty background. And we launched lipsticks. We launched 4 lipsticks. We completely self-funded it. It's Fempower Beauty, so
Yep.
empower with an F in the beginning. And it was the craziest thing we've ever done
It
as a
was
couple.
wild.
That almost bankrupted us. But
Basically.
we put everything into it. And the truth is that the reason we have the Lipstick Lesbians handle is because during COVID 2021, I was like, all right, we need to get ourselves out there in a way where like people can see us, right? How do we do that? And TikTok was booming at the time,
Yeah.
right? For those that were paying attention to what was happening in social media. And so I was like, I'll just capture the Lipstick Lesbians. We're lesbians, we sell lipstick. Done. It seemed pretty simple to me.
Yeah.
And I remember I came home and I
Oh
told
my God,
you,
you were
and you're
so excited. Christina, like childlike wonder for the platform. Just like, and we're gonna do this, like the ideas. I think for Christina, she spent a long time teaching in a classroom setting. And I remember the energetic exchange because she would get so much from the students and she would give so much. When she shifted more like 2018, she shifted into a more corporate role in education. And I recognized how deeply she was missing her creative outlet, her energetic exchange, her sense of play. And it was so clear to me that the Lipstick Lesbians channel was that. And the truth is that I hated being in front of the camera with a passion. Yeah. If you go back, we have archives footage of like
I haven't deleted anything on purpose. So like if anyone wants to go all the way back.
But like even before what's posted, like I would just be like, I would tell her to put the phone away. We would argue. And
all the
then
time.
fast forward, I think the Lipstick Lesbians, the brand, it was so clear to me that I did have to make content, but I was terrified. I was terrified. As I'm sure many founders that are listening can relate to that horror of putting yourself out there on video. And basically, Christina she Sherpa'd me into content creation, into everything by asking the right questions and the best questions, even before the educational style content we do now.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was a lot of just me picking up my phone and being like, hey, baby. I wanted to ask about Fempower, but the problem was that we didn't have money to launch whatever was next. So I couldn't show behind the scenes of our lives. So I knew the handle was brilliant, but there was nothing else that we could show of being founders. So instead it became, let's just show our lives, right?
And your background and your passion for beauty.
Right, right. So it became, hey baby, what's your favorite thing about being a lesbian? To me, I thought the channel needed to be gay. I was like, it has lesbian in the name. It needs to be lesbian-esque. So it became like an empowering like gay community in the beginning, right? And we had like, I think 2,000 followers,
Very,
just
very
like through like
following.
random, me picking up my phone, recording you. And we never spoke about products that weren't our own ever.
Right.
And the minute that we like let go of the idea that Fempower was going to be our gateway to success in the future was the second we went viral. And we
Literally.
started talking about other products.
I mean, that's powerful though. To be honest with you, overthinking I think is a really big thing in the industry when it comes to
Absolutely.
content. You're sharing yourselves, you're sharing the Lipstick Lesbians, like
Totally.
you're a couple. So it is still doing amazing things for the community at the same time.
Yeah, it's doing everything I wanted it to do, just in a way I never thought possible, right?
We couldn't see it in the beginning.
That's amazing. I felt like I knew the story of the Lipstick Lesbians, but I didn't really know. Like I didn't realize that the name came from Fempower when you were starting that, and it evolved into there, because I know a little bit about your background, which actually I want to even just get a little bit deeper for you guys,
Totally.
because you have done such a great job of sharing your backgrounds, but I think we have a bigger platform here, a little bit more time, like you said. So can you each give me a bit of an overview of like who you are, where you came from in terms of career, and then we'll talk a little bit more. But I just feel like I want you guys to dive into that so that the listener can get some more information.
So my background, and I know a lot of people don't really see me in front of the camera so much, but my background is in English education, really, and then I transitioned into educational technology. But I would say the influence that my background has really had on the content has been all about asking the right questions. So with my students all the time, as any good English teacher, I feel like they're always the favorite teacher. I mean, that and gym. But it's all about what is the big question we're really asking ourselves? What's at the heart of this issue that we can't figure out, right? And that's what, in my opinion, the best humanities teachers do. And I brought that into my work with education technology. I did get my PhD in education technology as well. So really about like, what are the best ways that we learn on digital platforms? How do we ask the best questions? What are the ways that we partner with people the most to get the most out of like helping people the best? And so that's really like all this research, all of this experience, all of these intersectional identities that I've held, the high school public teacher, the PhD student, this entrepreneur in this business that I started with my wife. Like I get to bring it into this lens, and I am actually not someone that is, I would consider myself someone that's not a beauty person. Like I would be someone that would not actually be watching beauty content. For me, it was something that I never really found interesting, which is funny because I used to, a lot of the times when I was shopping for cosmetics, wouldn't know where to go. I would rely on the Sephora employee or the drugstore employee, wherever I was, to help navigate my purchases. But the questions that I'm asking Alexis is kind of like, I have my own personal beauty guru that knows all of these things, like, help me.
You're almost taking the part of the consumer in a way, like the questions that people want to know, which is so smart. That's amazing.
Like, how many times have people stood in front of a wall of mascara and are just like, what the heck is all this? Like, can someone explain it to me?
And with the way beauty is now, it's so much bigger than it obviously ever has been. More choices, more brands. Every day there are new brands coming up. So no, you're right. It can be an overwhelming space.
It is. And what I didn't realize is I was really spoiled by Alexis because she used to explain things to me off camera all the time, to the point that I thought that this is how everyone thought about beauty. And that's why I feel like it was the beautiful accident that happened as it happened on our channel. I thought everyone knew the things that she was talking about because she spoiled me so much with information. And then when I picked up the phone and I recorded that fateful day in Sephora when you were replenishing your bronzer, by Mario bronzer.
And buying the new foundation.
Right. Yeah. I gamified it. And that's what I did as a teacher too. You know, I gamified it and I made it interesting. And I literally was like, well, guess where it's made? And this is a game that we played privately off camera as well.
We did.
You know?
It's a classic conversation you have with your product development besties.
Yeah, because during COVID, I would watch her and some of her besties literally get together. I mean, we'd have like karaoke nights and like we'd order Greek food
lots of wine.
And lots of wine. And they would bring out bins of like unreleased products from all over the world.
And
they would
go
like,
ham. Oh my gosh.
they would just like swatch it. And they're like, do you think this is Korea? Do you think this is Italy? Is it Japan? Oh my God. And I'm like watching this and I'm like sipping my wine. I'm like, what?
You know, like Christina got privileged, probably saw the best content that's unreleased in the world.
Yeah, I was like, I should have been filming this whole time, you know? So to me, I was like, okay, well, how good are you? Tell me.
Basically.
Well, I didn't expect it to go viral.
I mean, wow, that's amazing. I do love having a duo of on camera and then almost like a producer hat, obviously. I mean, I can tell what a big part you play in this content and how you two have come together in such a big way to be successful in the way that you are.
I always used to tell my students, asking the right questions is the secret to life.
Yep.
It really is. It's true.
And make no mistake, she made me take her essential questions seminar.
Yes. So I used to teach at the college, future teachers who were to become English teachers.
Literally.
It's like, Alexis, you need to sit in on my class.
I'm not even kidding you.
Take a class, that's so funny.
Yeah. So I took the class.
Yeah.
We know a little bit about your background because we've gotten to hear about it, but I would love for you to walk people through kind of your 20 plus?
Almost 20, almost
years
20.
in beauty. Yeah.
I call it the tasting menu of beauty.
Perfect. Yeah, you've done it all. Yeah.
My first stint really started when I was 19, sales floor, NARS. I was a NARS girl. I was a NARS girl for about 7.5 years. And that was like before college, during college, after college. So it was while I was at the NARS counter that I realized, you know, I would start to get all the different batches of the testers that would come in and I would swatch. And that's the first time I started flipping the boxes over and reading Made in the USA. And I would start to pay attention where the lipstick's made, where the powder's made. And I was drawing these connections that I didn't even realize that later on were massively important and relevant. And I would notice batch to batch, oh, this has more shimmer than the last batch, or this is a brighter tone. And later on, you realize that happens every batch. You can have slight variances that are not obvious to the consumer, but to somebody that stares at the pan every day.
But still, the curiosity, I do have to say, is very impressive.
Yes. It was while I was at the NARS counter, my first stint as like a resident artist, that I looked up and Googled and went nuts trying to find a program that would allow me to get a degree in this, because I did my first year of college in Greece. And I made a deal with my parents that if I get 1 year to do whatever I want, I'll come back and I'll live at home and I will commute. But that was the deal. So I was obviously looking for a lot, right?
Yep.
I wanted tri-state area, commutable, and a cosmetics program. And sure enough, FIT, which is a block away from where we're filming this, they had a cosmetics and fragrance marketing program. It was super competitive. They only let in 30 students per year at the time. You had to first apply to the school and get your associates. Then you had to reapply to get the bachelor. So this was a journey.
Wow.
And that's where it was like you had to really commit to wanting to do this program. And you had to interview. And it was a very like rigorous selection process.
Wow.
So NARS kind of raised me, I always say, and FIT, everything that I was learning while I was on the sales floor was kind of unfolding inside every single class that I took. And it was just amplifying my curiosity, really, because they basically will give you a bit of a crumb at FIT. They can't give you the whole meal every single class because you touch upon chemistry, you touch upon what's called product knowledge, where you'll literally build out a whole formula, and then you'll even do fragrance courses, and you'll learn how every single raw material that's not synthetic, how that smells. So you're learning a lot in a 2-year period and grazing the surface. And the idea is you come to the culmination, which is, you know, your internship, and then that's supposed to help you figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Yep.
So my advisor at the time kind of forced me to cheat on makeup and do a fragrance internship, which will make a little more sense as I go through the tasting menu. But the first job, getting out of retail, even though I worked across all stores, I worked at the highest level of retail you could as like a regional traveling artist.
Yep.
It was almost impossible to break through into corporate, to the point that like we're talking, it was a good year after I graduated. And it was through my network at FIT that I ended up getting a job at a manufacturing facility. So imagine that you're on the sales floor and you're receiving a big box of your shipment of all your goods that you're about to sell. They come in what we call chips and master cartons, and then they're in the folding carton, and you're stacking them in the drawer to sell them. Bam, I find myself, a good, 7.5 years later, on the assembly line in the room where they're filling the physical makeup product into the folding carton. I'm like, oh. So now I'm in the reverse. And the beauty of a manufacturer and starting your career in corporate at a manufacturer is that you get to be exposed to all brands. So your client wasn't just a single brand. You worked on all brands. So at the time, Benefit, MAC, Vincent Longo, RIP.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember Vincent Longo?
I do remember that, yes.
I did some really cool like watercolor stain eyeshadows with shimmer. I wish those were out now. Anyway, so the point is that you're in this really cool kind of sector of the industry that has this omniscient view, and you're ahead of all brands because you're the one that's supposed to teach the brands what's coming from a raw material perspective, from a style of the product perspective. So this job segued into really me meeting Christina. Mm-hmm. And it was a moment of, because this manufacturing facility was in Jersey, I need to get to Manhattan. And I have to do whatever I have to do to get to Manhattan. And I was actually let go from this job. And the firing happened in a really beautiful way, actually. The head of the company told me that I was too bright of a star for his constellation.
You're like, thank you.
I understand what he means now. A little salty, 15 years ago. But the point being that it was that job, though, that allowed me then to go into the next manufacturing floor, which was a fragrance manufacturing facility. But also, I worked there for about 2 years. I got to learn how to evaluate everything from hair care to fine fragrance. So hair care is a certain base. One of the most important reasons people buy shampoo is how does it smell? Every week we would get a blowout, and I would evaluate the scent of any, all competitive style shampoos, conditioners, right? Sometimes we would even do tests on dry, you do wet, right, for shampoo and conditioner, dry for styling. So this gave me the fragrance background that you all see come to life.
Yeah, and she also
content.
used to come home with dots all over her arms.
Yes.
Because you had different perfumes you were evaluating.
Totally. It could be really intimate, fragrance development. It's a little bit more, dare I say, sensual, right? Because you are going into work with clean skin. You have to. It's like a mandate at a fragrance house, especially when you're, a junior level.
Okay.
And the dots are the moments where they're building and creating the fragrance. So you get to literally track the path of a fragrance from the first initial idea to the evolution of the final once it hits the sales floor. And you learn how to smell. Mm-hmm. That's just to put it simply. The notes, what happens when you put the notes together, and also what happens on skin. Because everybody's skin, right, gives a different scent.
Yep.
Because we all have a different pH on our skin, person to person. So after the fragrance house, for me, I was missing makeup desperately. And again, we always say it's not rejection, it's redirection.
There you go.
And I like to share that I was let go multiple times in my career because it's real, right? And it's not always a bad thing. And in my case, that redirection took me to the next major entrepreneurial environment, back into beauty, back at a licensing company, working on like 400 different SKUs at a time for 3 different brands, like product development, like insanity.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
This licensor, boot camp.
Yeah.
It's famous for like, it will groom you and it will mold you into what you need to be.
Wow.
And it's that experience of doing so many different products. Because when you work on a brand, what's called like a legacy brand, spoiler alert, that was my next job. My final corporate position, Shiseido, you're in one lane. So I spent my time at Shiseido in one lane. It was the complexion category. I would bathe in beige every day, right? Like drench myself in concealers, powders, foundations. The hardest category to develop, by the way. And like going backwards for a second, not every product developer has the opportunity to learn and get to play with every product format, from mascara to complexion to color to nail. Everything. So that came from the licensing house, which I will forever be grateful for.
You got it all there.
Got it all there. And then bam, I got to go global, Japanese company, heritage company, relaunching their entire brand in the United States, redoing every single product in their line, like wildly amazing timing and experience for me. And Synchro Skin self-refreshing was
That's what I'm thinking. When you're saying Shiseido,
Those are
I'm like,
my
I
babies.
love those products. They're so good.
I was a part of the team.
The concealer one too was the
liquid.
first thing I ever tried, and it was so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I know. I remember
Thank you
it well.
for that.
Yeah, and of course it's a team, right? It's it's the global artists come together and they do shade work, and you do shade work with the PD. And those experiences, I got to go to Japan. I got to be inside a factory in Japan during the manufacturing, like watching them literally mix the raw materials together to make the powders. Like you can't teach that in a setting that's, number one, that exists today.
Yeah.
I'm going to aspire to do that one day. All of this to say that we finally reached the point, though, that Christina knew for years that I wasn't happy. I loved what I did, but I hated the environments I did it in.
Corporate wasn't for you.
It was not for
just,
me.
it's not for everyone.
I'm a little bit of a unicorn.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I love that.
I think my supervisors struggled to understand me in ways. My passion maybe didn't always translate in the best way. For them, I think they found it to be I was a little too creative, perhaps. I wasn't fitting in line in the way that the good soldiers do in the corporate environments. So no more letting go of jobs. Like, meaning no more I got let go of jobs. I chose to leave. It was with Christina's blessing / insurance. And then I started consulting. And while consulting, and that's when you're a consultant, you have to take everything you've ever learned and create business, right? So the consultant in me allowed me to launch our business together. So I was consulting. I had a variety of clients, namely, I held a celebrity client for a long period of time.
Okay.
And that's where the story gets real interesting, because when we were ready to say goodbye to FemPower, I was in deep discussions with my key client, and I'd let go of a lot of the other work I was doing because I was going to go full time with this key client. Until I got a phone call out of the blue, about a month before this was all supposed to happen, where they were going in a different direction, and that was the end. So that was December 2022. It was 3 weeks before our first viral video.
I've seen a video of yours that you had some other big stuff happening during that time. It was like you said.
It was 2 days before the getting fired.
I saw your video where you lost hearing in one of your ears.
Left ear, yeah.
Yeah, which is obviously at that moment a very huge shift in your life to feel like what is happening.
We did it on the 1 year anniversary. So it was December 5th, 2023, right, that we shot that and we posted it. And it happened December 5th, 2022. And it was scary.
It was
so scary. And we were in New York City with access to the best doctors if we wanted to see them. And we just didn't know how to ask the right questions at that time, because we didn't know what was happening.
I pushed though. I was like, we went to the emergency room. We went to like 5 different doctors. All of them were like, just hopefully it gets better.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's just
fingers
wax.
crossed.
It was
hope
so
your hearing
strange.
comes back.
But like when something happens and then you go on Dr. Google and then it could be like the worst thing ever. Like in this case, it was like one of the worst things, right?
Yeah.
But like none of the doctors were acknowledging that it could be until you went to get a hearing test and it showed.
You
can see
like
where
so
rapid
for anyone
drop.
that's listening, if you experience sudden hearing loss in any capacity, you're step one, go get a hearing test, audiologist.
Okay.
You have to, or you can go to some ENTs offer that, because that will give you the literal blueprint of a quick what's going on. And the problem with my specific case and most cases, many cases, you're on a ticking clock. You have 30 days to make something, literally to hopefully heal or regain some hearing. And it's 1/3 chance you regain some, 1/3 chance you regain all, 1/3 chance you regain none. The game you're playing, right, it's like roulette with your hearing, because the treatments, one of the treatment options could render you completely deaf in one ear. If it doesn't work out, it's because you're getting these shots in your ear that go through your eardrum. So you have to decide, because those could be the very thing that cure your hearing, or could be the very thing that puts you in the category. So you're taking a huge risk, all while you're under duress, all while in my case, I was, at that time, just a wreck, unemployed, right? But also just questioning whether or not I was going to stay in the beauty industry at that point. I thought it was the sign from the universe to say, we're packing it up.
Yeah, well, also fun fact, backtrack to April 2022, right?
About 6-7 months before.
There was this massive flood in our building that hit like we had 2 storage units, and it had her makeup kit in one of them.
My kit with all of my product development babies, all of my stuff.
Her entire kit was destroyed.
My NARS collection, my
everything.
vintage NARS, everything.
That was the first shedding of Alexis being like, maybe the universe is trying to send me a sign that I should leave the industry. And then when the hearing loss happened, and the consulting
the situation
stopped.
with the consulting and not getting the full time that was we talked about for years. Yeah.
She literally convinced herself, she's like, maybe this is a sign that I really need to leave, and she literally was about to leave. She went to the makeup show and she was like, I think this is it.
Yeah, it was like my funeral. It was like my career's funeral, the last makeup in New York that I went to.
But she was really depressed. Yeah. And I felt it, and I felt so badly for her. And for me at the time, it was really weird because we had Alexis at this really low point, and for me, I got a new job offer. And I was going to leave where I was going to work for a startup and take everything that I knew in education and virtual reality too, and bring it into fruition with the future of technology. So I was at this peak in my career, and then Alexis was here, and I was like, oh my God, it was so strange.
Yeah, it was. It was about 6 months after we got married.
Yeah, exactly. And then for your dad's birthday, we headed to Jersey, and you were like, I picked you up from one of your hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy sessions because that's what you have to do. You were like, you know what? Bring me some makeup. Let's go to Sephora. I want to replenish the bronzer and check out the new Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin that just came out. It'll make me happy. And I'm like, okay. And she was just so happy in the Sephora. It was just so beautiful that it was the first time I actually saw her smile in weeks.
Yeah. Well, you put foundation in my hand.
The beige got you.
Yeah, it did. No, it was exciting. And I remember also in that moment on that day being excited about makeup for the first time in a long, long time. And I think it's because all the pressure was gone, right?
You had almost relinquished yourself, that you were like, I'm going through this other stuff. This might be my sign. So you're just going in with almost a clean slate.
Totally. And that's why I let her film me because I surrendered.
Technically, you were like, stop it. I just want to focus on the foundation. If you look at the uncut footage, it's a lot of Alexis being like, all right, she's just putting makeup on my face. I'm like, Alexis, answer the question.
We had to get,
Yeah.
So where was it made? That's what you asked me.
Yeah.
And that motif was it's about so much more, right, than the country of origin. It's about the sensoriality of a product. It's literally what product developers have the privilege of doing, which is just really memorizing sensations. Fragrance developers have to know your raw materials from a scent perspective. Product developers need to learn what different textures feel like. And how do you teach somebody the nuance of, millions of products now?
Yeah.
So you start slow, one at a time.
The Makeup by Mario piece is so interesting because, again, I think about you two and I feel you've been in this industry for so long. And when I think of that foundation, I'm like, that's basically a new foundation. What are you talking about? It doesn't connect because, again, you've become this staple with content and with beauty content. And so to think that Makeup by Mario, a newish product, was the first one that kind of went viral for you guys. Do you remember what it was like when you woke up and you had seen that your video was picking up?
I actually have a video of Alexis's reaction. You're laying down on the couch and I'm just like, baby, how does it feel? And she's like, does that mean we can go to Sephora now? That's literally what you said.
Yeah. I think there was hope, right? There was hope, but also Christina was like my coach. She was like, we're going to do this again. We're going to go to Sephora, get ready, let's go. And I'm like,
Well, because for me, like, look, we went viral on TikTok before for like stupid thing. But like, this was like, wow, like this is something that's based in expertise. This is something that's based in like, you could really help people, Alexis, like understand about their beauty purchases.
she hyped me up.
I mean, clearly I was right, you know, because people wanted to know more. And so we kept on going to Sephora, and that's how this started. We kept on playing the game, but we also branched out and we evolved. Like, it's not just about the game, it's about the knowledge that you have to offer.
I was getting my makeup done, and someone was using a Pat McGrath palette, and I said, that palette was made in Italy. And I love beauty and I love makeup, and it's very much been a part of who I am since I was very young. But those are things I didn't think about, have ever thought about, that I feel like you have both brought to the surface to think about the texture, the ingredient, why it works for you, why it doesn't work for you. It gives more context to products instead of just going, this is good or this is bad.
Yeah.
So we end every podcast episode with a segment called Unduable, where our guest has 30 seconds to rave about a one-of-a-kind beauty product. For me, it has to be the Bare Minerals Original Loose Mineral Foundation, the OG of clean makeup. You know we're always looking out for you, so now until July 26th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, get 20% off bareminerals.com with the code IPSYBEAR, limited to one use per customer. This way, you can try their iconic loose mineral foundation and so many more products that are clinically proven to improve skin instantly and over time. What is your process when it comes to content creation? Like, how do you work together? Who does what?
A lot of the stuff when we go into the store is seriously on the fly. Like, we never know what we're gonna see.
That's the fun. Like,
it's actually, it's really fun.
It's fun because it's a challenge, right? It's such a challenge.
It's just Alexis's top of mind beauty knowledge, you know, that's like, you know, we walk into the store and the Fenty sticks, right? Were like
they were
smaller.
uncapped, and then they got the shrinkage.
And she's like, oh, we need to make a video about this. Take out your, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because I knew that meant that they couldn't experience the real texture.
But then we have the at-home content too, because again, we've evolved a lot. Like, we're not just in the beauty stores anymore. That would be crazy, right? To only go to the stores and do filming. So for at home, now we're getting PR. Now it's a lot of like Alexis's first impressions on just a PR, right? Like, what is the experience initially of what she's experiencing? Because I think from a beauty product development perspective, you've been doing this for so long that for you, a first impression is like, I could understand what this is gonna do based on my first impression. Not, I'm putting it on and it looks pretty. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's, I'm actually understanding what this is going to do long term because I felt this texture before.
Yes.
Right.
And also, who should buy it?
Yes.
Who should look for it? Who should swatch it? I'm a big swatcher. Like, we're clearly.
You didn't know.
Totally. It's like the swatch is everything. As we're teaching people not just to learn, right, how to understand what's good for them, but how to navigate shopping.
Yes.
Which, when you have as many surplus of products as exist, whether you're shopping online or you're shopping in store, there's a way to navigate your purchases that's a lot less overwhelming and a lot less daunting, and let's get you there.
Yeah.
And then you got to walk before you can run the marathon. Eventually, right, our beauty queens will all be marathon runners.
And that's what we call our community beauty queens.
Beauty queens, love it.
We're all
Love
queens
it.
and beauty queens. And then the third way that we do content is the really intentional content, which is like, what are the comments that keep on coming up for people, right? Like, if we were to aggregate all of that, and there was a big bubble of like, what are the main comments? We try to like understand what our community really wants to see and understand. And then we make content around that. We stitch other creators' video. We did an amazing video with Erin Parsons the other day where we stitched her and understanding like, why has this MAC lipstick changed from this shade to this shade over 30 years, and using the beauty product development knowledge, which I still find interesting. I'm learning things every day, and you still have so much to offer. You know,
It's,
like,
you probably tapped the surface, to be honest with you. There's probably so much,
a lot.
so much
And
more.
Don't forget, we were just at a Makeup in Paris show this past week, and there's a whole new world of innovation, and there's a whole new world of regulations. It's ever evolving. It's never stagnant. There's always going to be shifts, and I feel like we're at a really key tipping point. And when it comes to how we think about content today, to add on a little bit to Christina, my process is really creative. And literally, I woke up like yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I want to make a video about Saltaire, because now they have every category and they're in Target, and how many brands hit Target with body care and now are up to hair care and like deos and like, let's talk about why and who owns them. And it's like, my brain just jumps. It's like bam, bam, bam. Like, it's like Inception, but like I get it. Inception with beauty. We haven't made that video yet.
we have to.
But the point being, like, it can come as simple as a product, and I have these 2 pink carts from the Container Store that sit next to the vanity, and then we put all the products on. And I'll wake up and I'll sit with those products. Christina will be sleeping. And it's literally like I'm sitting and I'm meditating with these products energetically. And I'm like, what do I feel like we need to talk about today? Like, or that this week, right? Or what do I think people are hungry for information-wise? How can we get them, like, because it's also about coming to the tipping point of 18 months for us. How do we elevate everyone that's been watching, who's now learned so much? Let's take you guys to the next level. We're ready.
Yep.
Let's go.
That's amazing. I have to say, thinking of you coming to a crossroads and saying, I might be done with beauty, it sounds so insane. Listening to you, like,
I know.
It's palpable, like your passion, and thinking of you not being in a beauty space is like criminal. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm so, you must have been so relieved.
Oh my God.
That day when that happened, everything kicked off.
I felt like it was a miracle.
Yeah.
I think I called it a miracle to you. I was like, this is definitely a miracle. Like, I don't know what's going on. You're not leaving the beauty industry. You're continuing this
She's
on.
like, you don't have to get a job anymore.
But what's so crazy about this whole thing, like 2 months after we went viral, I got let go from the job.
The story no one else knows.
And all of a sudden we were making no money. I had a very, very, very
we had a
small
mortgage.
severance.
Oh my gosh, I have chills.
Yeah, we had a mortgage. We lived in a 620 square foot apartment. And then we started getting PR, but we weren't making any money on content because we were so new. All these brands were like, who the hell are the lipstick lesbians? And I also don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure there was a hesitation because we had lesbian in our name. And I think for some people that could be a dirty word. And
I would have to assume that as well.
Yeah, and I love that we're reclaiming that for so many, and for queer people all around the world. I think that's so awesome, you know, and there's this huge obligation with our platform. But this was a very scary moment for us. But we literally were the happiest we've ever been, when we were creating this content. We're like, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen, but let's just give it a shot. Let's give it everything we
had nothing
have.
left to lose.
Yeah.
And so we literally both leaned into content creation full time, would go to the beauty stores, would make intentional content. We did the lip oil showdowns and all these creative, like, fun ways to, like, entertain, edutainment.
And we gave ourselves a 6-month runway.
Yeah,
Because we were entrepreneurs at heart. We understood that the
Yeah.
money is going to run out.
Yep.
And you do have to eat.
We gave up. We literally, in our own way, like, kind of gave up on the idea of our beauty brand and just leaned into this. And we didn't monetize for 6 months. TikTok gave us a little bit because we got into, like, the creator fund beta really early because we did long form content before TikTok really announced them prioritizing long form content. So that was great. And it allowed us to pay our mortgage, which was like another miracle, another crazy thing. Like,
Which was like, okay, keep going. You have another 2 months
It
now.
was giving you enough to keep pushing.
Totally. So many serendipitous moments, like, throughout this. And then finally in July, we signed management after interviewing a whole bunch of people because we were so new, very new industry for us, trying to find out what to do. And then we finally started monetizing. And it's been incredible ever since.
It's really great.
It's art.
Yeah.
It is. And I feel just so validated that we are destined to be on this path. That's really what I was trying to say, that there's too many wild moments in this journey for it not to be destiny, for us to be doing exactly what we're doing exactly in this moment, exactly as we're doing it.
When you said that you lost your job, that I literally got chills because now knowing your full story and understanding how significant that was and how you felt going into that time of your lives, it's really wild. I would love to hear some of your opinions on the future of the beauty industry because I know you probably have some thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Trends. Okay, so trends is kind of what's fueling the beauty industry right now, content, product. What are some trends that you feel are coming or that you've seen? You just came back from Paris.
Yes.
What are your thoughts there?
So one of the biggest takeaways always when you either work for a global company or when you're at a global show is just how different some of the markets are. And in very many ways, like, North America has led in certain arenas in beauty, especially with the indies. But in other ways, we're always getting inspiration from Asia and we're always getting inspiration from Europe. And when you fuse all those things together, right, and we become this, like, global hub as we are, and because of platforms like TikTok, this, like, we're at the point of, like, peak mashup, I'm calling it.
Ooh, peak mashup.
So peak mashup of, like, Asia, Europe, and North America all coming together. And in that peak mashup, because accessibility to product from Asia and Europe has never been more prevalent.
Yep.
Right? And how many French pharmacy halls have you seen?
I was just about to say, those are some of my favorite videos.
They're like,
yep, right here.
I mean, you think about what TikTok has done for City Pharmacy in Paris.
Yep.
I can't even imagine.
People are taking trips to do that. They're going to Korea to get, like,
Correct.
now because of, like, exactly
So
like you said,
beauty
content.
tourism,
Yeah.
Right? And it's bigger than the content. It's part of community in a way that allows them to be so connected intimately to the culture and to these products and to the history and to the stories, which are coming to life through platforms. And it's beautiful. So trend-wise, this mashup and peak mashup, it's where do you go from here, right? Who's going to be I don't think there's ever going to, at this stage, I don't think there's going to be just one leader anymore. I think we're all just going to be borrowing from each other and almost like hybridizing the leadership role of trend. I don't think it's just going to be one disruptive indie out of North America because, my God, there'll be 5 different Korean indies that will pop up that will eventually, if they're good enough, will trickle onto TikTok. And
all it takes is one break.
One break, like tier. Like, perfect example.
Everywhere. It's everywhere.
And it's going to continue to be everywhere because they now understand what they've done. They've brought literally Korean cushions, which I've been talking about years, best complexion products, but they don't have shades. Oh, guess what? Now they have 30.
Yeah.
And it took them, 4 months to make that happen? Think about that in terms of what they turned around. The government regulations is the other major piece that I think is about to shape and reshape the beauty industry in a way that it's never before faced, because suddenly what happens is basically these companies have to follow government rules to sell globally. Now, every country has different mandates, whether it's Asia, Europe, Australia, right, or North America. I'm not a regulatory person by any means, but I have enough of an understanding because it impacts product developers because you suddenly can't use certain materials. So there are lipsticks right now on the market that may have microplastics in them that a year and a half from now, or I'm not 100% sure on the timeline, but won't exist. They need to get reformulated. And the rate of which they're banning ingredients is faster than it's really like ever been before, which is forcing more and more reformulations, which is forcing more and more brands to get more and more creative. And suddenly we have to adapt, right? We're going to see a lot of things start to go away in terms of what formulators were once using to make these best-in-class products. And what are they going to do? Well, they're going to have to innovate. They're going to have to get really creative. And the competition is going to force global manufacturers to compete at a different level. And there's this whole giant ripple effect. And what should come of this, idealistically, is better products for us, but ultimately also people need to understand why they're better. Like the education has to hit a peak too, so that it can keep up with the nuance of the changes. So people don't lose their minds like they did, like when Glossier took Petrolatum out of the bomb.com, and I just saw they brought it back, and you know,
even a foundation or it's not supposed to stay. You do have to touch it up. You do have to. There are things that you should do, and it's okay to do with makeup, that we have almost gotten these unrealistic standards of product because of the claims that they make that I do think could go away, and people have a different understanding of a product or how to use it or exactly why it's better. People were never talking about this stuff before.
They have to now. And it's nice because I get to focus on the makeup part, and then Christina gets to focus on the platforms. So she'll tell me what's happening in a pulse wise, like we have to talk about this today. We have to talk about this today. Or I feel it's really weird. I think when you're a content creator, you can feel like the energy of the platform. You know when the algorithm shifts.
Well, you're an empath.
So like
she's really feeling it.
I can feel from the views and the comments and the engagement when there's an algorithm shift, and we need to create the shift. And you feel it before I do most times. And you kind of raise the red flag, and you're like, okay, we got to get creative again. We got to shake it up. Like let's do it.
We've been through I think maybe 15 shifts since you started. It's really crazy.
But that it makes you then iterate.
Well, because don't forget, there's YouTube, Instagram, right, TikTok, and you know,
Snapchat. There's so much.
There's
Facebook.
so much. But you have to keep up. But there is a pulse too. Like there's an appetite, right? And we talk about this a lot, like satiating our community. It's one thing to be satiated, and it's another thing to be like a little bit hungry. And like in the case of content, you do want to leave them a little hungry. You don't want them to be full all the time in the sense of bored.
Do you feel like from a content perspective, are you looking to develop any new type of content as we move forward?
Well, we definitely want to bring back the showdowns for sure.
Definitely
because the showdowns, that was just so fun.
I'm really 10 seconds away from just stopping every production of everything else and doing a sunscreen showdown for everyone.
Everyone's like, yes, please, we'll take it.
It's a lot of, again, what's the appetite? And it feels like timing, products, what are people looking for, seasonality, right? Like everybody now is about to go get a little tan. They're going to get all conflicted about their foundation, and it doesn't match me anymore. Time for a new skin, like lower coverage. I'm sweating. It's hot. Like seasonality drives newness too. So I feel like we have one more major summer shopping push, right, to get through, and then there'll be like that like summertime lull.
Yeah.
Where people are going to be out. People are going to be busier. People are going to be less, I think, on platform.
Yeah.
But one thing we've promised each other outside of like a few big projects that we're working on is I desperately want to make more long form YouTube content. Like
Oh my God.
my soul is screaming for it.
We totally haven't activated YouTube yet.
Yeah.
So like right now it's recycling a lot of our content. It's a lot of vertical filming,
Yes.
which we need to switch around and doing it in studio. But we also have big plans for the summer that we're not going to talk about yet, but we're excited.
Yeah, we do have a really cool.
Something's coming.
I could just say the sentence. I'll say a sentence. You'll let me say the sentence.
Say a sentence. I don't know what you're going to say.
Lipstick Lesbians are going on tour this summer.
That's juicy. That's juicy tea. Thank you for giving us that one sentence. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm ready. It's coming into play right now. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Is there anything else coming up for you just in terms of this year? Like, what are you excited about for the future for the Lipstick Lesbians?
Yeah. So what's been so awesome is that our content has been built on education, obviously, and the education of beauty products. But we want to offer our community more. For those that are still hungry, that want to be more satiated, we are working on a curriculum, of course. We did an alpha launch really early on, but it was too soon. Like, we were like, all right, we need to go deeper.
But we
need
learned
to
a
like
lot.
rethink this. So we're relaunching, ideally before August. We're working on it hard every single day, different categories of the face, different products, and really trimming down and going deep into formulation, what makes them different, the aspects of it. Because we get so many messages from people about like, how do I become a beauty product developer? How do I break into the industry? I'm a student, or I'm like 50 years old and I hate my career and I want to shift. So we're going to be doing like micro credential certification course and really helping people like accelerate their knowledge. And for those that want to get into the industry, like the Lipstick Lesbian certified, like you went through our course and let's like do this.
And we have like essentially a little team. We've worked with a chemist who's been in the industry almost 20 years, and together Christina built the most beautiful framework that has ever existed, taking her background, her PhD, her thesis, and we've applied it now to beauty, and both of our brains came together, and there's this giant little wheel, which is going to be all the facets of the product development life cycle with the chemistry infusion, with packaging infusion, with regulatory infusion, and it's like, let's bring all that to life for you in a way that any classroom I've ever been in never did, and what the last 17, 18 years have done. So let's put it into this digital course. Of course, it's going to have a paywall, but the idea too is to build that community for people to be able to network and actually fuel the future beauty industry executives. Because right now there's like one platform that does it, like CEW basically, and there's not a course, it's just a network.
I know, and even when you were talking about FIT and how hard it is and how rare it is,
very limited.
I was thinking, what else is there? Honestly, what else is there? It is a niche program and a niche thing, and so I do think that's so smart. And I feel like if you're seeing the messages, there is a hunger there. People want to know, they want more.
Totally,
you're giving them something, and they should pay for it. Look at all that knowledge that you guys have. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for months, and
it's very
this is
thorough.
the weekend, like, when you're supposed to like relax a little bit, like that's when we go into full throttle and we like work on the course, because you have to find the balance.
That's amazing. And then when you finish the course, it's like a certification kind of, like that would be amazing to say, I did the Lipstick Lesbians course and I got certified.
And look, it can take you anywhere, right? Into a course. You can go, anything you're going to do in the beauty industry with that level of product knowledge will be enhanced. I don't care if you're in influencer marketing. I don't care if you're working in packaging. You understanding this omniscient view.
Yep.
We're bringing you the tasting menu in consolidated segments. It's a 5.
And it's just the first iteration.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I will be taking it. As you said, it's good for everyone. I'm like, I want to know all of these things. I want to take it all in. That's amazing. That's really great that y'all are doing that. And I'm glad we got to share it here with people who are interested. It's really great. Last question, mental health, because we're talking about the future of the beauty industry.
Yes.
We've seen brands like Rare Beauty obviously prioritize this and, talk about empowering people in their confidence through beauty. Is this a space that y'all have entered? Like, how are you feeling about this in the future? And if any other brands do you think will get into that space like Rare Beauty has?
We launched Fempower Beauty with the idea, obviously, as it says in the name, of empowerment,
yes.
right? And every beauty product had affirmations attached to it. And really at the core identity of the brand was that, like, when you put on your makeup product, you could really associate your own sense of empowerment through it. When you look in the mirror and you're reminded of that, you're reminded of what you said to yourself when you looked in the mirror. You know that most of the times that we look at ourselves, I think that statistics were like 90% of the times we're saying something negative, right? And we know this when we were working on Fempower, I really started digging deep about like,
I did a lot of research on
what is
this.
the psychology of all of this with beauty, right? Like why are people being so self-deprecating to themselves, and how can we shift that? And really, like, there's this ritualistic moment that happens when we put on our makeup, but we don't think about it as a ritual. A lot of the times we're thinking about covering imperfections that we have. And the bigger problem is that the marketing of the beauty industry historically has made us think that these products are prescriptions for these imperfections that we have. It's sad to see. And so I love that brands like Rare Beauty came out. Actually, when Rare Beauty first came out, we weren't so happy because we were like, and then she was doing affirmations on her products and we were like, but it's cool. I love that it's happening because it's this new guard, right? Like, going back to trends too, like, I hope that mental health is still on the forefront of trends as we move forward, and that it's not products as prescriptions for things that are wrong with us.
Yes.
You know, like for me and Alexis too, and we spoke about this all the time with Fempower as well, like even beauty filters too, like I see as part of this larger problem.
Big
like
part.
It's not just the marketing, it's like how we're presenting ourselves to be, and this like illusion of perfection that we will never be able to achieve. That's so sad, you know, because how many little girls, I saw something the other day with like a mom face tuning her child too. Like, this is not just for kids, this is adults too that go through this mental health crisis. With Fempower, it was all about mental health and all about helping people just feel better about themselves. And through COVID, I'm sure you want to talk about what you did.
So our brand was all about affirming beauty. And honestly, people didn't even necessarily know what that meant. It took us 5 years to figure that out, to be honest, like in the context of how to really share it. And it's truly, I believe, why our platform is a big part of why our platform is as successful as it is today, because we affirm people every single day in the content. We affirm that your lipstick is not, it may feather a little bit, it may come off, right? It's your concealer will crease.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much powder you put on and how much setting spray you use, you will crease. These are impossible realities of product. So what we did during COVID and what Fempower was really built on, this idea of affirmation, the affirmation application. I hosted these sessions, they were on Zoom. I did about 100 sessions. It's like a spiritual makeover. It's like a beauty aura healing.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite things I've ever done, like one-on-one with anyone, where we are walking you through the educational aspect of how to put the product on, but how to reframe every single thing that you're saying to yourself while you're putting it on. You're not putting eyeshadow on. You're blending your vision into reality. You know, you're putting mascara on. You're opening the windows of your soul, your eyes. It literally is like dating yourself.
Yeah.
And you're getting this intimate connection with who you are. And I think that something really beautiful in general about the way that, like, to go back into Rare Beauty for a second, what we learned with Fempower, it was way too deep, way too fast.
Yeah.
Like, some people aren't ready to go that deep. But I think what's beautiful about Rare, and we were able to attend the Rare Mental Impact Summit this year in New York, and it was beautiful. And what stuck with me is how good of a job they're doing at bringing people in gently. Because it's very, very scary to come into the world of mental health.
To open that box up.
Open the box. It's very scary. And essentially, we were basically like, we were assuming when we had Fempower Beauty that people were marathon runners. You know, Rare Beauty is really, really smart and understands that we need to teach people how to sprint first, maybe, how to do long form running.
Yeah.
And they're doing an excellent job. And we've spoken even with Katie Welsh about this and just how much we love what the way that they bring it to life in such a mass scale. Because they're one of the biggest brands in Paris, right? Like, we talked to the Sephora employee that worked for Rare Beauty while we were there. Like, and it was great. I think going back to just who we are, the entire existence of our platform, yes, is education first, and let's bring you in for the education. But as we continue to grow, we will always add snippets of that affirmation application experience.
Yeah.
How to speak to yourself every single time you look in the mirror.
Alexis identifies herself as a beauty healer. Like,
yes,
I don't know how many people have read our bio on Instagram, and even your personal Instagram too. Is just like, I consider myself a beauty healer, right? It's just like, let's heal our relationship with beauty and beauty products, right? That we never even needed to know we needed to heal.
Yeah, I mean, I had so many instances where it's also ironic because we were literally driving in New Jersey yesterday. We'll do a very quick story time. And we were coming down my block on my cul-de-sac, and I used to hang out with this girl on like the brown house on the corner. And I said to my mom, I was like, oh my God, I wonder how that girl is. Like, wonder whatever happened to her. And my mom reminded me of something. And it's so fresh because this is yesterday. And my mom's like, oh yeah, that's the girl that made the song up about you. And I was like, how? And then my mom goes, oops, I ate it again. And I was like, how does my mother remember this? First of all, I had forgotten this, thank God. But I was, in that moment, it's like you get to relive a quick little trip down memory lane. And it's like, I suffered bullying constantly. And I was really strong and confident and assertive in who I was always. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't go home and that didn't affect me. And I think beauty was a space that was always safe. It's always, even when One Size launched, I remember thinking, oh, Patrick Star, that's brilliant. Like, yes, anyone who's ever tinkered outside of regular sizes knows how hard it is to find things that you want to express yourself with, and you can't in clothing, right? But you can with makeup because it's limitless.
Yep.
So always, it was like I was the conductor of that self-expression, and makeup had no boundaries and no limits. And it was always healing for me from the moment of literally being 15 years old and wearing hardcore smoky eyes to like school.
Me too.
That's it. And it's funny to have been going through that moment yesterday where I was in Jersey, and it's like, how differently I would respond to that song today, right? Knowing what I know now. And we need to make sure that when there are 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds or 9-year-olds even, I'm sure, because my niece is 7, and she's been, she's taller than everybody in her class, and there's already those conversations are happening. And it's like, what if we teach young, people, humans from now how to handle those things in a very different way? And what if the ones that are interested in makeup can you start them there, connect to that, grab a lip gloss and remind yourself that you're powerful in that moment.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Simple.
And I hope the person who sang that song to you has seen your content and seen what amazing things you're doing for other people, the community, for the beauty world. The passion that I feel in this room is so amazing between both of you and the duo that you are. It's really, really beautiful. And honestly, it's been so refreshing and so wonderful talking to y'all.
Thank you.
We end every show with this segment called Unduable. So you each name 5 things right now that are irreplaceable to you. Like, you can't dupe them. And it can be a beauty product, a tip, a person, a thing, really whatever. Let's do 1, 1, 2, 2.
Since we're a duo.
Yeah, let's do 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, amazing. Okay, so let's give 90 seconds because we'll double the time so you can each go.
Okay, this is the most important man in my life. His name is Jason Stevenson. He does.
Oh my God.
He does sleeping meditations. I can't sleep without him. And my wife, obviously.
I don't know, this is really cliche, but I guess my iPhone. Because I'm like cutting content on it all day, and I'm using it to film Alexis a lot of the time.
You're cutting on your iPhone?
Yeah.
Ooh, she's an iPhone girl.
Oh, all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like okay, beauty product, because if people ask me this all the time, but concealer. I'm a complexion, like concealer. I have more concealer than I have any other product.
Ooh.
It's just, it's a sickness.
Okay.
My engagement ring, it has Crete on the back of it, and Alexis proposed in 2019. And I don't know, it's so beautiful.
Lip is my next, I have the most of category. You're gonna make me name like a specific product.
What's your current obsession?
Current obsession, it's definitely like the Korean style stainy lips.
Ooh, okay.
I have like a variety. I have the Clios, I have the Amus, I have Milani's.
Ooh.
That's really what I've been wearing on rotation the most.
Oh, we got to get your last one.
Okay. So Alexis introduced me to NARS Light Reflecting Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
It's the foundation that we both wore on our wedding.
That
and
is your favorite.
I love it. Yes, I will try other beauty products, obviously, because of who we
always go
are.
back.
But that one is one that is tried and true. always go back to it.
That was pretty good for two
tried.
people. I think that was pretty good. And thank
Technically,
you.
it was 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, seriously, thank you for sharing your knowledge, your passion, all things beauty. Like, this was such a wonderful conversation, and you are so transparent, both of you. I love your partnership, both in life and in business.
you.
Like, name a better duo. Like, no, it doesn't exist. Most of people, they have seen your content tons, but if someone hasn't seen your content, tell us where to find you.
Oh, so right now, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are our primary platforms. We are going to be shooting out an email list to get people updated about the course and everything that we're doing in what we call the Lipstick Lesbians universe. So if you go to thelipsticklesbians.com, make sure you put the in there. thelipsticklesbians.com, you can stay updated on our email list as well.
Amazing. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember, a new episode drops every single Thursday. Make sure you download, subscribe, give us a nice review, whatever you got in ya. And we will talk soon. Until then, stay glam.
Bye.
Are you hitting pan?